Seeming to disregard Devon's advice to take it slow, Artie starts cramming jerky into his muzzle, moaning like Cameron.
Snacks are so much better when you're high versus like an actual meal, you know?
Cameron doesn't know, but he nods enthusiastically. I can't believe this. Devon's tone is one of actual disbelief. Arturo glances lazily at Cameron.
Is Devon being a fucking Nazi about everything new, or have you been putting up with this for a while? It's weird after knowing how he acted in college.
Cameron leans against the tailgate, smiling at Devon.
I've been doing some dangerous shit during our investigation, and Dev is just trying to keep us safe. He's wonderful, and I love him.
Devon looks at him and just gives him a small smile without saying anything.
Oh, you gonna let me in on what's been going on between you two? Because I think we can all admit that it's been super awkward so far.
And yet you've been powering through.
Hasn't it, though? This must be fucking weird for you.
This is so surreal. They both laugh, and the obnoxious snorts that Cameron makes only makes him snort louder. It's just not really something you need to know about. I know that sounds rude, but...
I'm psychic.
God damn it.
Fuck.
Dev's eyes widen, and Cameron doesn't help to feel the silence that follows.
Huh, like you can like see the future, or... I can see ghosts and maybe the future? I don't really know how it works. I'm trying to figure it out.
Cameron hadn't really given it much thought, but seeing the future seemed to be part of it.
Dude, that's fucking awesome.
Devon shifts around, and Cameron can tell he's not exactly happy about him talking to Artie about this. He has to wonder why.
Shit, I think my aunt was like super psychic.
Super psychic? As opposed to what? Sorta psychic?
Nah, she had like tarot cards and shit. Told half my siblings that were up to shady shit that the cartel was gonna disappear them. Well, did they get disappeared? I mean, one died during routine surgery, but the cartel wasn't involved, as far as I know. That's so sad. I don't know why I laughed. It's cool, I get it.
So not really psychic, or at least not like himself. It feels wrong to him, but Cameron feels almost dismissive of anyone that doesn't see things like he does. So how people on drugs talk anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
They can get so fucking condescending. It's so frustrating. He's different, in a good way. And for once feels like he can admit that. He had seen his friend's death a few months before it happened, and he had dreams that were so accurate to the future that he had seemed almost like deja vu.
I want to go for a walk. Everything looks really neat right now.
Yeah, boy? You want to go for a walk?
Ooh, walkies. Dope, let's go see some ghosts.
Devon sighs heavily again, but helps Cameron down from the trunk, the coyote leaning against him as they start walking. Well, no good news going here. At this point, Devon has resigned himself to the fact that Cameron's going to do what he wants, and all Devon can do is respect his decision. While Artie reminded him more than once that Cameron is an adult, it went on for long enough that I lost the cadence of where that was going to go. While Artie reminding him more than once that Cameron is an adult had been annoying, it's also true that Devon has no right to take that decision away from Cameron. Still, There's a part of him that's hurt that Cameron would disregard his own feelings on the matter, especially after opening up to him by the lake. But Devin also disregarded Cameron's feelings when bringing him here, at least to an extent that the bear had thought was reasonable. Now it seems he's reaping what he sowed. Still, Devin remembers and brings up something that should keep them from venturing too far into the town. We should only go as far as the motel. Cam and I had a brush with some gun-toting redneck near the other side of town last night.
Whoa, really?
Cameron giggles.
One yelled at us from really far away, and Dev ran so hard he got a gnarly cramp in his thigh.
Again, he had a shotgun. Doesn't that bother you guys? Artie shrugs.
Nah, I've had guys flash their guns at me on the road because I flipped them off. Every one of them is too chicken shit to shoot. And this was even when I flew the old Azuli Blanco on my car.
Well, luckily for you, people here don't even know what that is. Now, if I were to mount a Sonoran flag on my Jeep while also flipping the bird... Anyway, I say we stick around this area, no further than the motel.
You should be more careful though, Artie. I swear, I hear a road rage story every few months where someone gets shot. Honestly, Cam, if that's my fork in the road, I say let it happen.
Why?
You gotta live. And if that involves getting shot on the freeway because he made fun of someone driving, then so be it.
So, I don't like this mentality.
Is there really a fork in the road if the other option is death? Yeah, one of the roads just leads to a dead end or something. I don't know, I'm high as hell right now. I think the metaphor is more appropriate for longer-term consequences, though.
Devin just smirks at the meaningless banter about fork and road metaphors that must seem so profound to them right now.
You know, my mom always talks about her fork in the road being in the 5th grade, and that it led to her having a shitty life. Seems kinda young to have a decision like that come up.
What kind of baggage are we dropping today?
I think she just likes to be able to point at a moment everything went wrong. But anyway, they'd been hyping up this space shuttle launch for months, and she decided she was going to be an astronaut. She went to the public library for the first time in her life to check out books about astrophysics and stuff.
Dev suddenly has a good idea where this is going.
Then, while the whole class was watching the liftoff live on TV, it exploded. And even though her teacher turned it off and went about the day like nothing happened, they all knew those astronauts were dead.
I figured that's exactly what the launch was they were talking about.
Yeah.
Didn't that one have like a school teacher on it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if it's the one that I think it is, wasn't that the Challenger? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
I think so.
I don't know when that exploded. That was only 35 years ago, so it definitely wasn't the Challenger. Maybe it was. I don't know. It made her question all her plans, and she drifted through life after that, not knowing what she wanted to be anymore. Damn. That's fucked up, man.
Do you know why that happened, by the way? Cameron gives Dev a confused look. So does Artie. Like they forgot he's even there. Wasn't like a bird or something?
Why my mom didn't know what to do? It's because she watched clips of smiling, waving astronauts getting on a space shuttle that then exploded live on TV, Devin.
Devin sighs, realizing he needs to make things more clear for this high version of Cameron. No, I mean why the space shuttle exploded.
Because rockets and fuel can cause explosions, right?
No, well, yeah, but mainly... Devin refocuses his train of thought. It's because they didn't listen to their engineers. You know, the people that stand between you and a pancaked shopping mall or a freeway bridge collapsing during rush hour, or an exploding space shuttle. Dev raises his brows meaningfully at Cameron, though weirdly enough, he realizes he's mainly talking to himself. It sounds like this kind of thing is like his exactly what was his motivation for being an engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
Always listen to your engineer. His half-assed attempt at making the conversation about listening to his advice quickly backfires, though.
Well, if those engineers were like the ones at Pueblo, I'm willing to bet more people would have listened to them if they didn't act like such know-it-all pricks.
Someone's still sore from having to drop out of their major.
Fuck you, too. Hey, come on, guys. We're feeling good right now. You know, Artie, I've dated an engineer for 5 years now. They gotta talk down to you to do their job.
Cameron walks against Devin and playfully nudges him with a shoulder. Even though Cameron is playing along with what Devin started, hearing his boyfriend say that actually stings a little bit. Babe, I don't talk down to you. I don't mean to anyway. Arturo makes a face, and Dev does his best to pretend like he doesn't see it.
Hey, I'm just kidding. I agree with you. If people let disasters happen because they're too proud to listen to experts, then fuck them. Maybe if they had, my mom would be on the space station right now.
Maybe. Mistakes happen, though. They remind us to keep our guard up. Because it always slips eventually, you know?
I think I do.
Dev smiles, pleasantly surprised that Cameron seems to be heeding his advice to be careful.
So I just looked it up. The Challenger explosion happened in 1986, and it was related to lots of problems, but apparently there was an issue with O-ring designs that were brought up by the engineers that were largely ignored. And so, yeah, it's probably the Challenger that they were talking about.
Damn. Nailed it.
Yeah, we got it. We have good brains that remember things.
9/11 definitely happened in this universe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no. For the first time in a day, he finds himself starting to relax a little. The end of this bizarre nightmare is in sight. Ha!
Nope.
Ha! They're already starting to circle back around to the car.
You know, it's kind of amazing to think about how you two are still together.
That brings Dev out of his reverie rather quickly. Why is that?
Well, all our other friends didn't last more than a few years out of college. And if you think about it, you and Cam are probably the biggest opposites out of all those relationships. I think the most important thing in a relationship is getting along. If you can do that for 99% of the time, you're probably set. That and having different hobbies and spending time apart adds to a healthy relationship. Man, sometimes you sound like a self-help relationship book. Or something. Maybe that's why.
I think it's just that we're both reasonable people. That's usually all you need.
Well, I'm really happy it all worked out, especially after your first relationship. Honestly, looking back, I was basically setting Cam up to be your rebound. I wasn't really meaning to, of course.
You know, I forgot how you somehow managed to always say the wrong thing at the wrong time, Artie.
Something he and Cameron have in common.
Yup.
Well, it has been a long time, so I'm interested. I just wonder who you were with before me. Have they literally never had this conversation before?
Apparently.
Oh, wow. All you've said is that they were like a month-long fling.
It's time to battle my 7 evil exes. Artie seems to take this as a go-ahead to reveal irrelevant and embarrassing information about Dev's previous love life.
He was a fox named Jesus, right, Devin?
I never brought him up because that relationship literally lasted 2 months.
A fox, huh?
Cameron says it in a contemplative way, in a way that makes Dev uneasy, even though the coyote's probably just truly curious.
Well, yeah, it was short, but when he dumped Dev, like, he went the full chick flick route and laid in bed for a week eating ice cream. I was so worried about him that I set the two of you up.
Devin's muzzle burns under the fur, even hotter than the heat of the desert. Why did I ever tell you anything in confidence?
Well, it's more like I saw it, like the entire dorm did. Is that true, Devin?
To Devin's dismay, Cameron sounds genuinely interested now, combined with a genuine degree of concern.
You seemed so put together when I first met you.
Devin avoids answering. It wasn't you that set us up. You mentioned me to your girlfriend's friend who happened to be Cameron's friend. She set us up.
Yeah. You can word it how you like. But if I didn't remember them mentioning this super hot guitar coyote, too bad he's gay, dude, who knows where you'd be right now? Yeah, that is me. And less than a week later, I knew it worked because I walked in on the two of you fucking.
Well,
nice.
Enjoy the show.
Oh, God, why are you bringing that up?
Yeah, why?
Because it was funny. Besides, I walked in on like a dozen people going at it at some point. Hell, back when the university library was open 24/7, you had a 50-50 chance of walking in on a pair of rats, getting it on at 2 a.m.
It's because you never knock anywhere, apparently.
Yeah, he just walks right in. Bragging.
Arturo prattles on to Cameron while Devin sulks behind a bit. The bear finds himself wishing he'd been the one to tell Cameron about all that. The way Artie described it made him sound unstable in a way. The fox had been cute, but Devin never really got to know him before Jesus abruptly broke it off. When he first met Cameron, on the other hand, he was cute and hot, especially with his guitar and voice, but that was just the surface stuff. Cameron was also nice and considerate and thoughtful and complex in ways that the bear is still trying to fully understand. Devin had girlfriends in high school, so people wouldn't get suspicious, but the fox had been what he considered his first real relationship, and he'd simply overreacted to his first real breakup. Looking back on his 19-year-old self, it's hard to understand why it had felt like the end of the world. If Cameron were to disappear from his life now, it would be the end of the world that he knows at least. Maybe, if for some terrible reason it did come to an end, he would look back 10 years from now and think the same about his 25-year-old self, but he doubts that. 5 years is a long time, and he plans to spend the rest of his life with Cameron. Unlike that fling in college, losing Cameron would be traumatic. A traumatic, life-changing disaster. Just thinking about it now makes his throat tighten. The abyss he's felt below his feet since he was 12, that emotional scar left over from the last traumatic event in his life, seems to yawn a bit wider. The bear thinks back to the point he'd been trying to make about engineers helping to avoid catastrophic failures, and why it had felt like he had been talking to himself. There's a moment in which recovery is impossible, where a chain reaction of small disasters are set off that then mushroom into a tragedy. Maybe he'd been reminding himself about what could happen, or maybe he's realizing something that's already happened. Why does it feel like he's already past that point? The point where he made a decision at a literal fork that set in motion a cascade of failures. There's no reason for him to feel that way, considering they're minutes away from leaving, but it feels hopeless now. He ignored all the signs and turned right. Ignored all the signs. Just like all those officials who ignored signs from their department stores, bridges, dams, and spaceships. At least until everything fell apart.
That's a little bit, this little section here is a little bit on the nose, being in how it like literally uses the language that they just set up. He's saying like, oh, a mushroom, like it mushrooms into a chain of negative events, and there's a fork in the road, and it's just like clearly looping all of the metaphors in that it has already done the work in. It's kind of interesting from a structural perspective because it shows that Howley is very clearly, very intentionally building things up with each scene and then trying to cash out the things that he has started building with each revelation in order to like kind of like solidify the characterization that he set up in the previous scenes. It's very it's kind of a weird comparison to make, but it's very like test prep in a way of like, here are all of the individual concepts we're introducing in each scene, and then there's like a cap off scene at the end of that that's like, here's a small summary of how all of these bigger thematic conversations relate directly to the characters at hand. It's done that like 2 or 3 times now, which is kind of interesting. It makes for a very structured narrative.
For him, the making the wrong turn at the lake was the O-rings and the Challenger.
Yeah. But then literally it also directly compares to, you know, that fork in the road conversation that Cameron's mom had, where she was like, the Challenger was my fork in the road. And Cameron worries about taking the wrong fork in the road as well. And Arturo's like, well, I could just die. You know, like, just kind of interesting in how it signposts things.
I would love to be murdered
characters.
because I pissed off a random driver in a nothing context.
Yeah. It's kind of cute though. Yeah, I do have to say, like, it's funny that at the crux of all of this, Devin is just like big dumb like Pooh Bear who's like, oh, the fox was my first boyfriend, but then I met the coyote who was very cute and hot and nice. I want to marry him. It's just like, he's hot and cute and nice, all 3 things that someone can be.
And considerate and complex and so on.
Yeah, of course.
It's hard to summarize quickly the idea without being like just speaking in tropes essentially and being very generic when you talk about just finding someone that you like as opposed to the specific things that are wrong with the people you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's also just kind of like a, I don't know. I think it shows Devin's frame of reference really well, right? Like, he truly doesn't care about a lot of the other stuff. His relationship with Cameron is based on the fact that he just like likes him and thinks he is nice, which like isn't any less meaningful than like liking someone because you like shared a traumatic event with them, or like, you know, like they changed your life. Like, it's totally okay to just like people because they're nice and you're attracted to them and you share something in common with them. Like, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's nice that that's his motivation. He has no ulterior motive.
It's such a dick from Artie's perspective to be like, haha, you were vulnerable you had your first gay relationship and it didn't end well, and you were vulnerable and sad, and I'm gonna bring this up periodically to punish you.
Oh yeah, Artie's wild. This is like such a dude, bro. I bet he buys Bitcoin.
I'm wondering if I think he might be, I'm trying to remember if he's straight or not, or if we know that, because he feels straight.
Yeah, he definitely has the
having no
the
concept for like
vibe.
What kind of situation Devin was in that situation.
Yeah.
Time passes quickly, and bantering with Artie and Devin had made Cameron forget what he was trying to do in the first place. He wonders if maybe that had been Devin's goal. He should be keeping his mind open, not covering up potential spirits with loud, obnoxious laughs as they reminisce about their college days. Because right now, he's feeling something strange that he can't explain. I like how the conversation Devin clearly doesn't want to have is somehow Devin's plan to distract Cameron.
It's like, very it speaks to a duplicitousness that Cameron is looking for.
Yeah, their internal. It's interesting how often their internal monologues just straight up contradict each other. Like they just are not on the same page.
Incredibly, I think it's very clear Cameron has trust issues. Obviously, but.
All right, ready to head out?
Man, we didn't even find anything scary.
You don't look for scary things, you just let them happen. And nothing happens, so... Cameron can't leave now.
Hey, Dev, please don't be mad at me.
Dev doesn't say anything, and that makes Cameron squirm.
You guys gonna fight again? Can I have 5 minutes alone, please?
No.
Just 5 minutes, I swear, and we'll be done.
Cameron.
I can feel something. I don't know what, but you guys are making it hard to hear.
Cameron, the motel's right there. I'm not leaving you here. Dev's tone is so resolute, so unshaken that Cameron shrinks into himself, realizing he's reached Dev's limit. Artie clears his throat.
Not to butt in, but how about this? Me and Dev stand at the end of the road over there so we can see you, and then we can make sure nothing bad happens. Please, Dev? I just really need to figure something out, and it's gonna bother me forever if I don't. Please?
Dev is clearly taken aback by Cameron's intensity, which had been Cameron's intention. Something is wrong, and he needs to confirm it. Is what you're doing safe? Could it hurt you?
I don't know. I don't think so. It has more to do with me than ghosts, though.
Dev doesn't say anything for several seconds, seeming to be weighing multiple scenarios in his head. Okay, we'll be up the road. Please be careful, and yell if you need us.
Okay, thank you.
Even though we know that Cameron can't yell when he's in that state.
Yeah, also, one of the things here that's kind of... I know we've been harping on it the whole time, but Cameron being like, I'm sensing something, and I can't... You guys are making it so I can't hear you, but Cameron was literally the one that was like, no, tell me more, Artie. I want to hear about Devin's baggage.
Yeah.
Like he's literally the one engaging
to distract me when I engage in this conversation.
It's just like, dude, you're the one... You literally talked more than Devin did in that scene. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Dev kisses Cameron on the head for a long moment before walking away, up the road. Artie looks back and forth, confused, before following Dev. Alone now, Cameron can tell that something is definitely different. He can't put his finger on it, but it's not just him being residually high. It's almost like he can see more clearly. Like he can see more.
Meaning in nothing.
Cameron isn't sure what to think about this. The weed is making it happen, though. Just like he hoped it would. But it's weak. He can hear the voices of those who have passed, just barely playing along the wind. For just a fraction of a second, he thinks of trying opioids just once more, and how that would truly help him see things. The thought leaves him feeling physically repulsed to the point where he almost retches, the visceral reaction surprising even him. 3 years of substance abuse, the death of his mother, the deaths of his friends. He vividly remembers those 2 weeks when he quit cold turkey, hiding away in his friend's basement in a pool of sweat, shaking, having every bathroom issue possible, wanting to rip through his fur and skin and run to the street to run into a car. He cried constantly. He hated himself. He was worthless. He needed to die. He had to die. But at the end of those 2 weeks, he'd made it. It was hard, but like his friends would always tell him, withdrawals aren't the hard part. The hard part is finding pills in a friend or relative's medicine cabinet months, even years later. The hard part is crushing those pills up into neat little lines of powder, staring at them, telling yourself you don't need it. You don't have to do it. But you do it. You always do it. No matter how many times you get clean. Someone like Cameron needs something else to keep him clean. And that's Devin. Because the shame and heartache of Devin finding out wouldn't ever be worth it. But knowing this moment, any moment, he can be far better with a single pill. Unfortunately, that feeling will always be there. So no, this is stupid, and he won't touch drugs again, not even weed.
A window.
Yeah.
I like that. That was cool.
Oh, hand.
Yeah.
Did not see that at first.
Very cool.
What the fuck? What even is it? At first, Cameron is only surprised. This is something he hasn't seen in months, not since October of last year. But still, he kind of hoped this would happen. This creature, this manifestation, is somehow connected to his abilities. He'd always thought it to be mental illness. But now he knows that there's something more to all this. Maybe it's a sign, a harbinger of sort that might lead him to important visions. Still, something about it is especially unsettling this time. Something is wrong. Something is different, and it's more than just the Raincoat monster appearing. Arches and half circles. His train of thought cuts off as he notices a barely discernible movement with the creature. Aside from a handful of moments in the past that felt like glitches more than anything else, this creature never moved. It is always like a cardboard cutout. It's no longer cardboard, though. It's breathing. What's happening? He's not thinking right. This thing isn't part of Echo. Cameron knows that. So why is it acting different? More alive, as if the town is amplifying it. Maybe it's just the setting, his nerves, the weed. But now he's realizing how strange it is that he's been so relieved to find out he's psychic. Doesn't he still have problems? It's not like all those issues were just solved. Although, are those the voice of the dead or something else? Are those ghosts or hallucinations? Is there a difference? Suddenly a whole new wave of anxiety washes over the canine. Just like that, he's not sure about anything anymore. He'd had such a beautiful, life-changing epiphany, and now... He looks up the road towards where Dev and Artie are, but they're not there, and Cameron stares, wondering what's real anymore. He looks back at the monster, standing in that window. Oh, you can see it. You can see it in the window, next to the mantis. It's just clearly there the whole time.
Oh, I guess it is, yeah.
I thought
that was just a shadow, but it makes sense. It's a coat with an
arm, yeah. That's not a curtain. And I don't think there was anything there before.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess that is a raincoat.
I'm reminded of, I think, during, the Heather scenes, I think there's, a silhouette of Keith that we missed. That's just there in the background.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. I mean, from where I'm sitting, I'm a little bit far away from my monitor. It literally just looks like a curtain. So if you hadn't pointed that out, I was literally staring at it when you said that. And in my head, I was like,
it didn't register it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the raincoat.
That's
But you
cool.
can especially see the hand and the arm to the side.
Yeah, I can see it now that you have pointed it out. I see the outline of the hand. That I wonder what that means though, because it could be, the raincoat monster, or it could just be a dude in a coat.
Like just a real dude.
Yeah. Well, because we're seeing it from outside of Cameron's perspective right now. So,
yeah. Or if it's like some kind of tulpa thing.
Yeah. Could be something like the embrace.
If it is a harbinger of something for something important, he should go into that room.
No. What? No. If you see like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees standing in a creepy hotel, you just walk away.
You just straight up sees like Freddy, and he's like, I bet he's a hugger.
Yeah. Oh, Chucky, the knife seems like a good time.
Yeah. Otherwise, he'll just leave here, knowing he's crazy, knowing he's on the verge of a fucking psychotic break.
Oh, damn it. What am I doing?
And then he's moving for the window. For that monster. The whispers growing, and the distortions twisting.
I wonder if you scrolled back if we could see if the monster was actually in the window.
Like before that point?
Yeah, I'm curious. Let's see.
He was.
Yeah, he's there.
What
I wonder if he's just always. Yeah, if we go back,
he's there at this point too. He was here this whole scene. Oh, he's not there.
Oh,
it's the moment it cuts to Cameron's perspective.
Yeah,
it's suddenly there.
Interesting. Yeah, looming. And he shows up then. So I wonder though. I wonder if this is just Cameron seeing it, or if we're gonna turn out correct and it's just someone. It's fucking Brian watching them.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely suggests that it's just Cameron seeing it if it appears as it transitions like perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Devin watches his boyfriend in the distance carefully, feeling his anxiety come down a bit as Cameron just seems to stand there.
So, what's the deal, man?
Huh?
You know what I'm talking about. What happened? Did he see some fucked up shit earlier? Because you seem really, really worried.
For a moment, Devin is glad Artie cuts himself off, but then...
Hey, what the fuck?
Ah! Artie's already running up the road toward his car. Devin looks and sees a man standing next to his car, the hood up. Devin isn't sure what to do at first. Either go to Cameron or follow Artie. Cameron seems oblivious in the distance, which is probably for the best, but it doesn't look like the man is carrying any sort of weapon, so deciding his friend is going to need help, he runs after Artie. Dev runs up to the car just as the old weasel-looking man headbutts Artie in the face. Fucking Duke.
Oh, hello. Yep, that's Duke. Oh, fuck, son of a bitch!
Artie stumbles and falls on his ass. Hey! Not aging gracefully, are we, Duke?
Meth will do that to you.
The weasel regards him coolly, seemingly not bothered by the fact that he just used his own face as a battering ram. Hey. Dev doesn't know what to say, mostly because he doesn't know what the guy just did. Why the guy just did what he did. Meanwhile, Artie moans on the ground, a paw to his forehead. That at least gives Dev a starting point. You can't just fucking do that, man! What are you doing? Adjusting things. He shows off a pair of pliers. Devin can hear his heart pounding in his ears as he sees a toolbox balanced up on the bumper. Why? Give me that! Devin starts to step forward to take the pliers from the man, but a flash of light blinds him. Devin never been hit before. Not as an adult, at least. His size usually deterred anyone from trying anything, and he normally didn't get into these kinds of situations anyway. So this moment takes what feels like a long time for his brain to process. He stumbles on his feet, paws uselessly outstretched, trying to refocus when... Something explodes in his stomach that seems to expand like a balloon under his ribcage. The bear doubles over in shock, feeling like a vacuum has opened up in his torso before he falls to his knees. Somehow I hit the joystick, I guess. The long, strange sound of agony seems to go on forever as his diaphragm refuses to work. Only now does he realize he's been punched in the stomach as well. And while he's had the wind knocked out of him before, it's nothing like this. And how was that, fat ass? Dev goes on droning in response, a small part of him considering that he might actually suffocate to death.
Holy hell, man, what the fuck is your problem?
Oh, you wanna know? Devin, still with his face toward the ground, only hears movement above him. But that's followed by a gasp from Marty. Well. Also, holy shit, there's a lot of CGs in this game.
Yeah, there is.
Paintfox worked his entire ass off.
I just wanted to say I'm really glad Duke is back. Duke is a profoundly good antagonist and a character that is very intricately nuanced in a way that I find incredibly compelling as a very, very bad man. So I'm excited to see him back. I am very surprised he survived Echo.
I'm wondering what he thinks he's accomplishing this time.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that I find interesting about Duke and Echo is that he's wrong, obviously, because he's very myopic. But he's one of like 3 characters in the story who is trying to logically, in his perspective, deal with a supernatural circumstance. And he is logically, in his mind, working through everything. And trying to find the solutions that, while self-serving, like align to his worldview. And that, I think, makes him very dangerous and compelling, because that is what real-life oppressors do. Like, he constructs an argument that sounds reasonable to normal people about why, we should kill Chase, or why we should do all these things, or he says, you're the problem. Scientifically speaking, if we were to deal with you, the problem would be dealt with, which, no matter how myopic, is an extraordinarily compelling argument for people who don't have the information to deal with what is going on. And I think it's just a perfect encapsulation of how terrifying the particular kind of oppressive backwoods, like, hick stereotype of like being backwards and dangerous to gay people and like representing all of the evil of a small, close-minded town. Like, Duke is just a flawless depiction of how scary and how powerful people like that can become under the right circumstances. So seeing him here being like, in a weird way, being like goes quote unquote protector is like immediately profoundly compelling to me as a antagonistic take on like how bad people come to power.
He essentially is like the single character in the entire Echo setting that has the most understanding of what is going wrong, because basically no one does. But instead of being the stereotypical like elder figure mentor that guides the protagonist through their journey and then probably dies at the end of Act 1 or something, he's Reagan.
Yeah. Well,
like,
I mean,
just, like,
I would say
he says you, the queer characters, are actually the problem, and you need to die.
Yeah.
And that's how we solve this problem.
I would say the character that he reminds me of is like the judge from Blood Meridian, which I just now realize is probably a book you haven't read. But
no.
He's a character that is profoundly evil, but in a position of authority. And like that in and of itself is interesting, because you have to then reckon with why everyone else in this setting gives him that credibility and that authority that he has. And I think that that's a very realistic depiction of why dangerous people in power are dangerous. Because it isn't as simple. Like, you can't just defeat them by being like, they're not empathetic and compassionate, they're wrong about this. Because people can be like, oh, they might be evil or oppressive, but like they made an argument for why that's okay, so I'm gonna listen to them. I think Duke is a very chilling character, and it's interesting to see him back in this context. Also, his Sprite, look at his eyes. He is high as a fucking kite. His eyes are like bright red.
Oh yeah. He's almost got this like awesome look to him at this point with his coloration.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a stoat or an ermine or something, I think. I think he's the same species as Cliff. From TSR.
Oh, Cliff, right. Yeah, I think I've even heard that Cliff and Duke are related.
Possibly.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I have a problem with sick fucks like you dicking around in this place because you think it's funny. Dev is only now starting to get his breath back, but his eyes are locked on the gun in his face, and his insides turn to water, which has nothing to do with the punch. Where were you 5 years ago, huh? Back home with mommy and daddy, living in your middle-class houses. Thought you'd come out and see what the crazy meth heads are up to, how they all killed each other. The man adjusts his grip on the gun, and Dev almost chokes with fear. Either the old man is going to shoot him, or he's going to do it on accident. Is this still fun? Artie's rough breathing next to Devin is the only thing that lets the bear know that the cat is still there with him.
Dude, listen, we didn't mean...
You listen, dude. I gave you assholes a whole fucking day to get out, but you're still here. Since you're so goddamn comfortable, hope you don't mind being stuck here for good. With that, the man turns away, sticking his gun down his pants before calmly collecting his tools, closing the toolbox, and walking off the road, straight through the sagebrush.
Holy shit.
It's a 7-mile walk to the freeway. I suggest you leave the moment it gets cool. And that's friendly advice. There's much worse out here than me, you stupid fucks. Artie bends over Devin, who slowly stumbles to his feet, hunched over, his stomach aching far worse than his muzzle, which he wipes clean of blood. Fuck, man. What did he do? Artie looks back to the car, and even from there, Dev can see wiring sticking out from the hood.
I can't fucking believe this.
Hang on, I'm getting Cam.
All right, man. I'll see if this thing's even worth coming back for.